Let me bring Bob Cusack in on this, the editor-in-chief at The Hill. What does this, if it happens, signal, if anything, to you? There have been so many articles written, Bob, as you know, about the Biden approach to China maybe being similar to President Trump's approach, but would a Ambassador Buttigieg be a signal that, well, maybe it's going to be a little bit softer? What do you say?
Well, I think Joe Biden has to be careful of this, as well as Buttigieg, if he is the pick, because you don't want to look like you're being soft on China. Now, the Biden transition team has indicated that they're not going to remove the tariffs that this President Trump, put on China right away, wants to kind of evaluate the situation. But there is no doubt. I mean, China is a threat to the United States in some ways, but also somewhat of an ally, and our economies are linked. So you have to have a very nuanced approach. And I think all those questions of everything that Buttigieg said would certainly come up at a Senate confirmation hearing. And Buttigieg is well-spoken. He knows how to handle reporter questions, and I'm sure, but he's going to be pressed on some of the things he said on the campaign trail about China.
He will be. To me, and I don't know if you agree, this if this appointment happens, it would be more about Mayor Pete than it would be about either Biden or China, in that this is a guy I'm sure wants to run for president again. And, right. Well, I guess George H.W. Bush would be the only former ambassador to China that I can think of that was elected president. But still, it would build up his foreign policy credentials and that kind of thing. And that seems to be what this kind of appointment would be about, more than maybe policy.
Sure, and I think that Buttigieg is going to be pressed on his foreign policy experience. Obviously, he was a mayor before, has military service in his background. So it makes sense that he's joining the Biden administration, and I'm sure he would have to confer very closely with Joe Biden, who used to be chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. But without a doubt, this is something that the expertise, as has been raised with other cabinet choices, is going to be on the table and be questioned by Republican senators and some Democratic senators as well.
Right, and legitimately so. While we're talking about China, I do want to at least mention this spy story that everybody seems to be talking about the last couple of days, like something out of a novel. Axios had the report that a Chinese spy made inroads targeting up-and-coming politicians during the Obama administration. And among those mentioned, shown on the screen here, is Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell from California. The woman in question was known as Christine Fong, and she reportedly left this country about 5 years ago. But before that, this alleged Chinese spy was out raising money for Swalwell, is said to have helped place an intern in his office. Any political ramifications for Swalwell or the others that are mentioned here?
Well, Connell, I remember Swalwell ran for president, and certainly he has a lot of aspirations, and maybe he won't get to the White House, but he would like to get to higher office, perhaps in the Senate down the road. This is a significant story and a very good story, well investigated, and I do think there are a lot of unanswered questions here, Republicans questioning whether Swalwell should remain on the Intelligence Committee amid these new revelations. And it also shows you that China is trying to infiltrate our system, as Russia has, and that's not going to stop anytime soon.
And they play the long game, right? I mean, this woman we're showing here supposedly, I mean, just trying to build relationships, and, would have taken years and years to build those types of relationships. I don't know what value might have been there, but they're willing to play that long game, right?
Yeah, that's right. And you have to also raise the question, if they're doing it with a House member, are they doing it with other members of the House and the Senate and other politicians? Yeah. I'm sure the answer, at least, is yes. At least they're trying to.
At least they're trying to. Exactly. I'm thinking it's very fair. Bob, thank you. Always good to see you. Bob Cusack.